Hello everybody and welcome to Traveler's Tales Toy Story 2 on the Sega Dreamcast.
Yay!
I
actually grew up instead with the PlayStation version.
It's the same game too. The difference is that the Dreamcast version looks better fidelity-wise.
I can definitely imagine that. Similar to Rayman too.
The major
Dreamcast was next gen, y'all.
Well, it was at the time. It was. The only major difference between three versions there is that the Nintendo 64 version doesn't have the movie clips because lack of space.
Activision, run away!
Fun fact, Activision for some reason published this game in the US. I don't know why. Couldn't Disney Interactive just publish it themselves, like they've done for their other games?
But you see, there's their logo, so it was like a co-thing?
Apparently, I don't get why Disney needed help to publish this one game.
Okay, question. Was I the only one who in my childhood always took the D in Disney to look like a backwards G or a music note?
I usually was more scared because we would usually accompany that logo with sinister effects, so...
Really? The Disney one?
Yeah, it usually was this bombastic, like, vroom thing.
Wow.
I love that Traveler's Tales logo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think they even brought it back for Crash to Insanity.
Well, it was a different version because it was a different division of Traveler's Tales.
Yeah, Oxford.
Oxford Studios.
It's a logo. 2.
That's actually the first ever teaser trailer that they made for the movie. So they decided to put it in here.
Pedro, don't forget your jump pack.
I don't care about jump packs. So.
Okay, I will say something. As much as I like this game, the presentation for the title screen is lame. It's just a steal.
Yeah, okay. I'll just say this. Do not judge this game by the presentation of a title.
Yeah, especially because it features Woody, which is barely present in the game.
Well, Buzz is the main character of this game, so...
Pretty much.
Woody is basically the Princess Peach of this game,
That's also the problem. In my country, this is called Toy Story 2, Woody and Buzz to the Rescue, which is a blatant lie because you control only Buzz.
I wonder, did they do this just because, the first Toy Story...
Well, actually, as you can see there in the title screen, it's called Buzz Lightyear to the Rescue, not Buzz and Woody.
In my country, it was called instead that.
I wonder if they made it this way because, hey, in the first game, you only played as Woody on the on-foot stages and whatnot here and there.
So yeah, keeping up with the tradition of PS1 era Disney games, we have clips from the movie.
Do we actually have the sound alikes for this one?
No. All the voice clips in the gameplay are taken from the movies.
Yeah, but stuff like Simba's Mighty Adventure actually had the clip.
Not in here too.
With different voice actors.
Not in here too. Any voice acting that you hear in this game is taken straight from the movies, so all official.
Right.
So, like I was saying, I wonder, did they make it with you only playing as Buzz because Woody was like the main playable character in the first game?
It makes a lot of sense. Most of the plot, Woody's just sitting in that one room with the other toys. So this is the best possible concept for a game based on Toy Story 2.
Wow, the loading screens are instantaneous.
All right.
The PS1 version will actually.
Well, actually, that's because I'm emulating the game. The emulator is capable of. The emulator is capable of.
Okay. I'll say this.
What?
Am I the only one who was kind of shocked that they didn't start this game with, a level from the actual Buzz Lightyear game that Rex was playing at the start of the
It's interesting to see that, Jova. I agree. Guess Toy Story 3 will correct that wrong. Don't worry. We'll get to it.
Do you get the ending where where Buzz's top half gets blown up?
No, we don't. Sorry, we actually get to defeat Buzz instead. But that's the idea.
Defeat Buzz.
Defeat Zurg. The idea in context of the story of the game is that it's supposed to be them playing it one final time for old time's sake before Andy supposedly puts them in the attic. So. It's a nice little nod to the second game, and a chance for Rex to finally defeat Zurg in the game itself.
Being a Traveler's Tales game around this point in time, this game's music was done by Andy Blythe and Martin Joustra.
I actually really like this score. It's once again, very similar to other stuff they did, like Mickey Mania. Oh, it's really cool.
Yeah, they also did the music for the first game. Yeah. The primary thing, yeah, you're playing as there you go. You can target your laser by using your visor view, as in the first-person view.
Basically. Yeah, now the buzz laser surprisingly works. You actually hit things.
It helps us helps us with the gameplay. Okay, just roll with it.
I'm definitely rolling with it.
All right. So yeah, Toy Story 2 is a collectathon 3D platformer, much in the style of Mario 64 and other games of the time. So there you go. The primary difference between this one and something like a Rare game is that it doesn't really. So it still has a level by level structure. It doesn't have a typical hub world structure. Instead, you're just dropped in the level and what you're supposed to do. And by the way, yeah, thanks for destroying Molly's crib, Buzz.
Wow. Okay then. That'll be fun to explain. Mom, why is Molly's crib partially destroyed?
Gotta love that box. It just says game box. Just game box.
The levels are filled in with evil toys. I think the manual did say something like where Zurg's minions, but we're just there to have actual enemies to
He never bought a Zurg.
It's for the same reason too that the first game is full of trains and airplanes.
We needed enemies.
You can grab onto poles, and only you can push onto a pole. Basic climbing mechanics. We all know how these things work. We've been playing games for years.
Basically, each level has a set of particular objectives, but each of them let you earn a Pizza Planet token, which you will need to progress.
Yeah, the Pizza Planet tokens are your power stars for this game. Dwips.
You can move the boxes on the shelf in the basement to get to the token on the shelf. It is easy with Cosmic Shield. Mr. Potato Head will let you use it if you find his ear for him.
Yeah, Rex will be there just to give you basically tips on the level.
The primary
sorry, go on.
The primary gimmick is that you drop in the level and you have to do various tasks for all of the other toys to get Pizza Planet tokens, which are your power stars that will open other levels, and that's the basic gist of it. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sam.
each level, they're sort of recurring because there's a motif when you get the token. One of them is specific for the level, like survive an obstacle course of some kind. One of them is give enough money to Ham, because capitalism. One of them is a race of sort, or if Slinky is present, to collect enough items in a set amount of time. One of them is to find particular objects, like in this case, for example, Bo-Beep ships. And there's another one for defeating the boss of each level. Yes, each level actually has a sort of a mini boss to it, like in this case, the robot.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some, recurring stuff between each of the levels.
This first level.
Go ahead. So basically, Traveler's Tales took sort of like the Zelda 2 approach to what to do for a sequel. They completely revamped it and went with arguably a different gameplay style from the first game.
I think it's a much more simpler context that they saw that the most popular thing right now for platformers was collectathons, so let's just do one.
Well, regardless, my point stands that, like Zelda 2, they pretty much changed up the gameplay style. You know?
True. And much like Zelda 2, I'm particularly not a big fan of that decision as well, because I much prefer Toy Story as a linear, more action-based, set-piece-driven platformer, as Toy Story 1 and Toy Story 3 are.
True. I was about to say, I think you might like Toy Story 3 the best then.
Well, actually, I still... Probably because of nostalgia, but I still have a soft spot for the first one, in particular. But no, I actually prefer the third game over this one personally. Don't get me wrong. I love me a collectathon, but remember, I'm the moron that likes Donkey Kong 64. So it's not like I have a problem with collectathons. The issue is just that let me put it like this. It's kind of like when I made that argument in our Aladdin playthrough where...
Oh, you outright destroyed him.
Yeah.
I already know. I already know what to do, Joe. I've played this game back in the day.
No. I meant more in the sense that Andy's mom is going to have a fun time explaining to her son why she found his robot toy there completely in flames with its head off.
In the attic. It's also tied to... basically when the game came out, basically it's I guess it's more of a nostalgic value, at least for me. But as a person's first type of this type of game, I think it's basically fine. But I also get what Pedro means in terms of lack of consistency between potential titles.
It's not even in terms of consistency, Teo. It's more so the fact that when it comes to again, let me use my the same. Let me. Okay, go ahead.
Ham is sitting on the sofa in the living room.
Thanks, Rex. Let me bring back my argument from when I was talking about why I prefer David Perry's Aladdin game over Shinji Mikami's Aladdin game from Capcom. It's because when it comes,
Shinji Mikami did that game. Wow.
Yeah, he did.
He also did Goof Troop, Joe. I remember that.
Remember, Joe, Capcom was all about the Disney tie-in games back in the day. They had a contract with Disney to make games based on the...
I know, but Shinji Mikami, of all people, that was...
Well, you have to start somewhere.
It was actually one of the first things he worked on.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting about that, Jova? Shinji Mikami, years later, came out and said that he actually prefers David Perry's game over his own. But David Perry, I guess to be contrarian, said years later that he actually prefers Shinji Mikami's game. So,
wow.
So
Okay.
maybe they're being solidarious towards each other or something. I don't know. You can, basically you have a stomp attack, meaning you can jump and boom and stop. Like much like the butt attack that Mario has in Mario 64. There you go. And it also can serve as to activating trampoline-like things. But yeah, the reason I prefer David Perry's Aladdin game, Teo, is because, like I've explained in the commentary, its gameplay represents the spirit of the movie way better for me. It's much more action-packed and based on set pieces, just like the movie itself, you know. And the style of the first Toy Story game and the third one made by Avalanche is a linear style, more of a linear platformer, A to B type of platformer with more focus on puzzle solving and action set pieces, stuff that is much more reminiscent of what they do in the movies. So I actually prefer that much better as a Toy Story game. Whereas for Toy Story 2, it's fine. It's just that when it comes to hi Buzz, please find my 5 missing sheep. When you find them, come back and see me for a piece of planet token. I know that we're kind of on an emergency to save Woody, but I'm not going to give it to you. First, you have to find my sheep.
Bo Peep.
Fucking Bo Peep. Well, then again, she's as we've learned in 4, she's a bit. She's secretly a bit. But whatever. When it comes to Toy Story, it's one of those cases where I feel like, I still, again, obviously I don't blame Traveler's Tales for going this direction because, at the time, people just assumed, okay, 3D platformer, Mario 64. That was basically the convention that was the norm at the time. So, I mean, Crash Bandicoot was the only one that didn't really... Okay, you still collect things in Crash, don't get me wrong, but the level structure and design is much more linear in comparison to something like Mario 64. So
I know what you mean. Like, Crash Bandicoot was strictly more of an A to B sort of format here and there.
And that's the format that I think fits Toy Story best because it allows the developers to have something that's a bit more action-based, which is much more akin to what we see in the movies. So I actually think that style of 3D platformer works best with Toy Story, personally.
That's part of why Toy Story 3 is kind of my favorite of the bunch. Like, Toy Story 3 feels like what Toy Story 1 did, but expanded to an amazing depth here. Helps that, it's also in 3D here and there. And I love a lot of the interactive stuff, especially the buck races.
Bo Peep, do you mind? I'm trying to do stuff here.
The primary... The primary thing for me is that this first level's fine, don't get me wrong. It's just that it's not even just the fact that it's a platform. Even on a game on its own merits, I still have a lot of issues with in the later levels because I think there's a lot of archaic design choices in here that haven't aged well in the later levels, but we'll go through it as we go along.
I can see what you mean. Like, collectathons, okay, with any genre game, you have to treat it just right, but collectathons are definitely something that, are easy to age badly. Like, sure, yeah, when they were all in the vogue here, they were great and all, but looking back on them, collectathons do have a lot of issues, like,
If you play Mario 64 today, that camera system is horrible.
Yeah, but, okay. And keep in mind, Mario 64 is like one of the definitive versions of the collectathon, so... that can show you how much they can age badly here. Okay, there's stuff like, depending on the collectathon game, you might have to deal with insane backtracking, which is never fun. Route memorization of certain things, which unfortunately...
Well, actually, no. Go ahead and finish your point. Sorry.
Route memorization of stats for inane quizzes, which Ukulele brought back to much player chagrin.
There they are.
Level structure and whatnot, but sometimes the different missions may not flow that well with each other. Now, good collectathon can have it so that they can flow, which is one thing Mario 64 thankfully did. And for the most part, sometimes you literally could not do a certain task unless you picked a certain mission. But with Mario 64, generally the idea was like, well, you could do whichever task you wanted to, whenever you wanted to.
That's
not always the case with some collectathons, which can unfortunately make the process
there you go. Speaking of races, one of the usually easier pieces of planet tokens you can get in pretty much all the levels is the races against RC. And this also becomes kind of another issue I have.
Wait, RC can talk now?
I guess so.
Apparently. The basic point is it challenges you to a race. And the enemies don't disappear, so you have to be careful of the enemies while you're racing. So, thanks, Traveler's Tales.
Thanks to there are some obstacles that will actually slow down RC, so we're giving you an actual advantage. But otherwise, be wary because RC is really fast. This comes apparent. You were mentioning backtrack, Joka. Starting from the second level, it showcased that some power-ups need to be acquired in a later level, and then you have to go back to a previous one that had them, but you couldn't not use at that point. Like, for example, in the next level, you can finish the RC race against the race against RC.
This music definitely sounds a lot like the music from one of the levels of Wrath of Cortex.
Anyway,
unless you have that specific power up, but you get way later down the line.
I will give it this. This game was kind of ahead of its time in some ways, in the sense that it doesn't exit you out of a level until you want to, and unlike something like Mario 64, which
crashed into the ceiling.
Actually, Dweebs, you can do a better one. You see that the piece of planet token attached to that question mark is the one you could get in the basement, but it's so attached to that room ceiling that if you do the whole to infinity and beyond, Buzz literally gets stuck 2 centimeters up.
Yeah. Oh. Alright, so that was Andy's house, and we got 3 tokens out of there. Let's see. The next level is Andy's neighborhood.
Oh boy.
Woody once risked his life to save me.
Please don't sue us, Disney.
Well, actually, the YouTube ID didn't show anything when I uploaded these. It seems like the compression apparently takes care fools the YouTube system
bots,
apparently.
They have enough money.
Fortunately, since I'm doing the Dreamcast version, the compression is a bit better than on the PS1.
Yeah, definitely can see.
Mr. Buzz Lightyear, you just
Wheezy.
saved my pal Woody.
The Dreamcast discs had 1 gigabyte of space, so it allowed Traveler's Tales to compress to apply better compression for this.
Geronimo!
This is another thing as well that I have an issue. Like, it creates it basically puts the story, unlike the first game and the third game, where the story and the gameplay
Sounds a lot different in this game.
Unlike the first and the third game, where the story and the gameplay are very intertwined with each other and work really well together, this is a case where the collectathon gameplay makes it so that it completely undermines the urgency of the plot itself. Like, we have the cutscenes here, yes, but they don't really reflect on what you're doing in the game. Like, for example, that first cutscene we saw, the boss was on the road, then suddenly cut to him inside Andy's room. Like, it's like they made the game and only put the clips of the movie after, So
yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Sorry, go on.
I'm not gonna lie. It does feel a bit weird to make Toy Story 2's adaptation of all things, and collect them on. Seeing as how I'd argue that game is arguably the one with the most, urgency plot-wise in the movie, because Well, Woody's literally been kidnapped, and even though the characters don't know it, he's on a time limit. Also, let us solve the mystery of the self-driving lawnmower.
Yeah.
Also,
that's concerning.
That's the thing.
Lawnmower man.
That's the thing, Jova. Unlike with the first game, which did a really good job in prolonging itself with excuses beyond the movie's plot, I will argue this movie also doesn't always come up with the best excuses to fill out levels, to be honest with you.
Also, but to be fair, this is something that was very common for a lot of these interactive games
it was.
The PS1. No, but particularly on the PS1, the Genesis Mega Drive titles, particularly the ones that were touched, for example, by David Perry's team, and as we saw, for example, instead of another case, the first Toy Story game, did manage to replicate effectively scenes from the movie, almost to a T, including potential set pieces as well. But games on the PS1 like this, Atlantis, for example, the Little Mermaid one, did have levels just for the sake of it, despite the cutscene and timeline placement might have not made sense to it. They thought first of the game and later on how to integrate them.
Oh yeah, I understand.
Weird because other PlayStation games like Simba's Mighty Adventure, the Lilo and Stitch video game, did go with a simple point.
God damn it, Ham!
Okay,
as well.
I will give you Jova on Simba's Mighty Adventure, but Lilo and Stitch takes a lot of liberties too.
I know that it takes a lot of liberties. I'm talking mainly about it going from point A to point B gameplay-wise. That said, it does take some liberties. Hey, don't you all remember the lava monster from the Lilo and Stitch movie?
Totally.
I guess
for the film.
I guess for me too, it's one of the things that the first game that they made before this one did that expertly, but for this game, it's like they didn't even think of replicating that effect that they did with the first game. As in try to properly adapt. Like for example, like Dweb said, and the third game, apparently the people at Avalanche thought the same thing me and Jova did, because one of the first things you do in Toy Story 3 is finally we have a level based on the Buzz Lightyear video game. Finally, they completely make up an excuse that they find the game and decide to play it one last time because for old time's sake. But I'm at the very least glad that we finally have a level based on that video game.
Seriously, it's a Toy Story video game, and you don't include the actual video game that was shown in the film.
I don't think even the Buzz Lightyear Star Command video game has something similar to that.
I haven't played that one.
Well, to be fair, that's because that one takes place in that Buzz Lightyear universe, so it's different from the video game.
Yeah, that is true too. The video game exists in the Toy Story universe, not in the fictional Buzz Lightyear universe. Those are two different universe. Get your lore straight.
It's weird because the Buzz Lightyear Commander Mission pilot movie, that was sort of a glorified pilot for the series, does start by being shown, with the toys playing it in Andy's room.
Another advantage from playing the Dreamcast version is that the graphics are much less jaggy compared to. But anyway, the PS1 one, and I haven't actually looked into the 64 version, but I mean, the Toy Story, the Nintendo 64 version of this game has text cutscenes because they can't put in the movie.
You haven't even bothered with the boss.
Well, that's the thing too. I got what I wanted, and to be perfectly honest with you, I find that level a bit iffy. But let's just go to the boss already, just to get some action going on in this game.
Aren't you gonna have to go?
Don't worry, Tay. I'm gonna, like Jova said, I'm gonna have to go back there anyway to get more tokens anyway too. So.
All right. Yeah, occasionally also you get a boss only level. In this case, I guess this toy plane.
Yeah, a toy plane that comes out of nowhere.
This from the movie.
Yeah, this is exactly my thing. Okay, like me and Jova said, and even Dweb said it. Even wouldn't make a lot more sense for the first level in this game to be the Buzz Lightyear minigame? You could literally do what Avalanche did in 2010. Adopt that into an actual level and have the first boss be that Zurg boss battle. You could maybe even do a Matrix of Neo thing where you can have an alternate ending depending on whether or not you can defeat Zurg or not. If you lose against Zurg, it adopts the same ending as it happened with the movie where Rex lost. Like it's such a much better idea for how to start this game, and yet they didn't think of doing that. It's just one of those things where And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that, because Traveler's Tales did this with the first game, so I kind of expected the same philosophy to go into this game, but it seems to have been lost, to be honest.
So, for this boss, we have a toy plane that shoots real bullets. How nice.
Again,
I mean, remember, Jova, we're basically also saying that Buzz laser is also tangible, so we're using that kind of logic.
I have to say, the safety hazards regarding these toys are immense, and I feel sorry for the many children that have probably killed themselves with these toys.
The way this boss works is that basically stay still and wait till the plane comes towards you and aim the laser at it.
Actually, not really. Staying still is the worst thing you can do because, as you showed, you get damage constantly. You're supposed to constantly jump around.
Well, it's working now.
Well, now because you're taking the time, but it's much more risky. Instead, the jumping allows you to be more on the same height of the boss, making sure you land your shots correctly.
I honestly too, I've tried that. I honestly cannot really do it. I don't really care much for the way this game controls, and I don't really, whatever.
I will give it this. I do like that little feature about how you can see Buzz's reflection when you're using helmet mode.
That is great. Yeah. It's just one of those things for me where, okay, you needed this plane because, you need an excuse for a boss. Well, if you need an excuse for a boss, I've got one for you. The Buzz video game where he fights Zurg. That's a good excuse for a boss. Just saying. I don't know.
I guess aside from Zurg and Stinky Pete, who else would there be?
Oh, I get that. It's just that, it just seems like a no-brainer for that to be the first level,
Oh, trust me, I agree.
Bonus movie awarded. And by bonus movie, they mean an extra trailer for the movie, so whatever.
Yeah, getting all the Pizza Planet tokens in the...
look at that.
Yeah, you don't get to play it. There you go, Joe. You don't get to play it, but you get to see it.
Also, Jova, this is one of those games where getting all the collectibles only unlocks basically an extra clip from the movie.
Again, if I wanted to watch the movie, I just watched the movie. I would have preferred to play this.
Well, back when it made more sense because that was the whole appeal, getting the game before the movie actually got distributed in VHS and DVD, so you could get to see the cutscenes on your own.
Not only that, this was before, stuff like... this is before, stuff like movie scenes could be gotten easily outside of the actual movie as well.
I guess. But that appeal, but that appeal doesn't really work anymore.
Well, so, I get it. It's just a matter of seeing this game by the time it was made. Which, to be fair, you did mention, considering it's best to be compared with the first title.
So why are we getting this scene in the middle of the story?
I have no idea. It's just there to be a clip from the movie.
Thing?
I don't even understand, Shiroi. It's like. Why is again? You want to show off this? Yeah, this is a really cool scene. I love this scene, but I wish I could play it. But don't worry, guys. Toy Story 3 Avalanche will come to the rescue and make this finally a level for us to play.
So
I've always found that bit funny in a dark kind of way.
I actually haven't checked because I haven't seen the movies in the original language, especially aside from the main cast. Who actually voices Zurg?
It's actually Bud Lucky, if I remember correctly, isn't he?
Okay.
Oh no! Wait! I think, or maybe is it Andrew Stanton? Now that I think about it.
Okay.
Andrew Stanton voices again.
Okay then.
Okay.
Pedro, was that scene? Okay, was that scene that we just saw the bonus thing that you were awarded?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was about to say because the placement doesn't make sense.
It's mostly because Jova, they still play it. Yeah, it's true. It's still just a bonus scene that technically is not. But the game just plays it still though. That's the thing.
Monsters Inc. Scare Island also has that, where the game is completely. It's a prequel to the movie, so that makes sense, and yet it still plays actual clips from the movie.
My parts are killing me.
Come on, fellas.
I like that we're playing through the story of this movie, but not the video game part of said story.
Yeah, you gotta love that. They must have thought it would be the perfect.
That's exactly my issue, Shiroi. While this game is fine as a platformer on its own, as an adaptation of the game of the movie itself, I don't really think it does a good job in properly adapting all the various moments from the movie into gameplay, like the first game did. And it's weird because it was made by the exact same team that made the first game. So I kind of expected
Of course we cut it out before it zoomed in on Woody and his friends too.
No, more like Pedro started the level, but the part cutscene before the level actually starts.
Well, I needed to stop the video at some point.
Sure. So it's a shame because it actually is my favorite level. So I guess we'll see that in the next part.
Well, look forward to part 2 then.
See you then.
See ya.
So yeah.
Yeah.